Elizabeth Hurley and Hugh Grant were in love even after he paid dearly for a certain souvenir that he purchased in Hollywood? I do. It was 1987. Three Men and a Baby was a box office hit. We were blessed with The Lost Boys and Some Kind of Wonderful. Kirk Cameron and Michael J. Fox graced the covers of Teen Beat. Full House premiered. Aretha Franklin was the first woman to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And 22-year-old Elizabeth Hurley met 27-year-old Hugh Grant on the set of Rowing with the Wind. The two were still struggling actors trying to make a name for themselves when they started dating and moved into a little apartment together. Elizabeth said that those early years of having no work and living in a tiny flat really bonded them together, and that Hugh did look particularly fine in those cream breeches. He played Lord Byron. Their relationship went long distance in the early 90s when Elizabeth moved to LA to try her hand at Hollywood, but after only landing a small role in Passenger 57 in 1992, she moved back to England to be with Hugh. At that point, the two were splitting their time between Hugh's two-bedroom flat in the Earl's Court neighborhood in London and a farmhouse in West Littleton. But then in 1994, everything would change for them when Hugh landed his breakout role in Four Weddings and a Funeral. It was at that premiere on May 11, 1994, that Elizabeth made a name for herself when she showed up on the red carpet in that iconic Versace dress. She later said that the dress had been a favor from Versace because she couldn't afford one herself, and that she was grateful for how iconic it became. Hugh's star shot up quite quickly, with outlets reporting that he made $100K for Four Weddings, but with his 1995 film 9 Months on the horizon, he could demand upwards of $6 million a picture. This is in the 90s. But then, while in LA to promote 9 Months, he made a huge mistake. Hugh had spent the weekend at publicity junkets with his co-stars Tom Arnold and Jeff Goldblum. That Monday, he had the day off and dined at a Japanese restaurant with the film's director, Chris Columbus. After dinner, Hugh climbed into his white BMW and headed east on Sunset Boulevard. Then, in the wee hours of the morn, 1:30 a.m. on June 27th to be exact, it was a Tuesday, Hugh pulled over to chat with Divine Marie Brown, a 23-year-old lady of the night who was known to LAPD, which is why they were watching the whole thing go down. Quite literally. Divine got into Hugh's Beamer and the two drove on to Hawthorne Avenue where they parked. A few minutes later, they were both arrested for what officers called a lewd act. Apparently, the whole encounter cost Hugh $60 and a lot of his integrity. Even in the 90s, news traveled fast, and soon the press caught word of Hugh's extracurricular activities. He made a statement saying, "Last night I did something completely insane. I have hurt people I love and embarrassed people I work with. For both things, I am more sorry than I can ever possibly say." He hired lawyer Howard Weitzman, the same lawyer who had represented Michael Jackson. Mike Newell, director for Weddings, said, "I wonder how significant it all is, really. He hasn't hurt anybody. Well, except for maybe Elizabeth, his live-in girlfriend of 8 years. You know, the one he had talked about having children with repeatedly." People were obviously quite surprised by this turn of events, and Hugh quickly went from the charming Englishman with the floppy hair that everyone's mom wanted to set their daughters up with to, well, someone who cheats on their girlfriend with a 23-year-old entrepreneur. Hugh ended up being fined $1,000 and ordered to attend an AIDS education program. When the news first broke, Elizabeth's friends said that they felt like she'd stand by Hugh, and they weren't wrong. He later went on Jay Leno and said, "I've done an abominable thing, and she's been amazing about it. And contrary to what I read in the paper today, she's been very supportive, and we're going to try to work it out." While many thought that Hugh's indiscretion would tank both his relationship and his career, it did neither. He regularly brings in between $10 million to $15 million per picture and has found huge success with films like Notting Hill, 2 Weeks' Notice, Love Actually, Wonka, etc. As for Elizabeth, they dated for 5 more years, eventually breaking up in 2000. The breakup appeared to be amicable, although the two seemed to disagree on the reason behind it. While Hugh believed that the romance eventually fizzled out, Elizabeth said that it was because he was annoying. She told Andy Cohen, "Hugh used to really annoy me. I love him, but he's very annoying." She said she used to call him Grumpelstiltskin. Hugh went on to date Jemima Khan from 2004 to 2007, and then he dated Tinglan Hong in 2011, and the pair had their first collab, Tabitha, in 2011. The paparazzi harassed Tinglan so severely during her pregnancy that she had to take out an injunction against them. Hugh turned 51 the same month that Tabitha was born. When asked about fatherhood, Hugh said, "I like my daughter very much." A year later, Hugh welcomed his second collab, John Mungo, into the world, this time with producer Anna Eberstein. John was named after Hugh, whose legal name is Hugh John Mungo Grant. It's a good thing his parents put the John in there. It's awkward. Hugh Mungo. Speaking of awkward, only 3 months later, Hugh welcomed his third son, Felix, with Tinglan. On December 16th, 2015, he welcomed his fourth collab and second child with Anna, daughter Lulu, middle name Danger. Like for reals. In March of 2018, the couple welcomed their third collab, Hugh's fifth child, Blue. Hugh and Anna were married on May 25th, 2018 in London at the Chelsea Registrar's office. The internet said that Hugh married her for passport reasons. Anna is Swedish, which Hugh refuted, saying he married her because he loves her. Shortly after breaking up with Hugh, Elizabeth dated Steve Bing. Elizabeth found herself with collab, and Steve denied that he had been her fellow collaborator, accusing Elizabeth of being unfaithful. Her son Damien was born in April 2002 after the two had split. Steve demanded a paternity test, and 2 months after Damien was born, the test results confirmed that Steve was the father. She briefly dated Canadian NBA player Steve Nash in 2001 and then began dating Arun Nair in 2002. They were married in 2 ceremonies in 2007 but split in 2010. Elizabeth then dated cricket player Shane Warne, who was married at the time that pictures were published of the two smooching outside a London hotel. Shane's wife Simone was at their home in Melbourne taking care of their 3 children when she saw the photos. 3 months after Elizabeth's divorce from Arun was finalized in 2001, Shane put a ring on her finger. The two split in 2013. In 2019, she was linked to Justin Theroux, but they denied the rumors, and then, last month, in April of 2025, Elizabeth posted photos on the gram with her latest oily bohunk, Billy Ray Cyrus. Anyway, Elizabeth and Hugh have remained good friends over the years, and she even made Hugh one of her son's godfathers. I wonder what he thinks about Billy Ray. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this one. If you did, please remember to save and share it with your friends. It really does help spread the good word. And don't forget to follow me on the gram, the tube, just in case. Also, we still have bookmarks, stickers, and pins. Remember, I do love some of you. Good day. May the cult be with you.